Hello, hello, back again. Day drinking with David. I guess we skipped last week. Got my wires crossed there, and was very, very busy, but glad to be back. Very excited to welcome my friend, Mr. David Laird, from the wonderful Willliam Grant Company and their spectacular line of we'll be tasting them, and he's here, and he's coming right on immediately, very, very efficiently. I like that, David. Here you are, looking good. It's the
How
first
you
time
doing?
I've seen you without a mask in some time. I'm glad
I
to
know.
see
I'm
it.
going to turn my volume up here, get it loud.
Very good.
Hopefully you can
Welcome,
hear me now.
sir. Welcome. How are things?
I think you hot the same as me today. It is hot over here. I'm. I was just. We moved to California not to be this warm, I think, but
Yeah, well,
it only happens
surprise.
now and again. But doing good, mate. Doing good. We've. I'm glad to see California opening back up.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Glad to see the masks coming off because everybody's getting healthy and getting
Yeah.
back out there, and you can really see it in the stores and in the bars and restaurants that there's an energy that it's just not been there for a long time, and it's been pretty sad actually. And I mean, whatever way you want to look at it, it had to be done or didn't, but it's just nice to be over it, and now we're into the
Yeah,
hopefully,
it feels
good
good,
goodness
man.
praise the roaring 20s, and hopefully that's about to happen. You know, let's just
Let's
have
just
fun again.
avoid the 30s and the 40s. Uh, But yeah, it's really good to see you, man. And you've brought a couple of really special things. So just so people understand who you are, tell us a little bit about what you do, where you come from, and why you're here today.
Yeah, I've worked with William Grant for 8 years, and great company to work for. Still a family-owned company, which is getting rarer and rarer these days in
Very rare,
the
very
whiskey
rare.
world. And I've been with it for 8 years. I was with as Balvenie ambassador for a long time, and then did a couple other different roles. And now I look after what we call a luxury portfolio, which
Hmm.
focuses on a lot of our rare allocated whiskies. A lot of these whiskies are becoming harder and harder to find these days, and it's just making sure that when you go in and you find these beautiful whiskies like K&L, that it's there for you so you can find it. So a lot of that, but the other side is also activating with these whiskies now that we're back
Hmm.
open and hosting events that kind of really how these whiskies deserve to be showcased, and I'm looking forward to that. That's the fun part for me is the having the great events.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a couple of things about William Grant and why it's such an important company in the industry. If people don't know, they're the owners of Glenfiddich and Balvenie, and of course the Grant's Blend and a number of other brands that
Mm,
we love in the store, Hendrick's Gin, and but of course, the bread and butter. It all started with the single malts, and if you go up to Dufftown,
yeah,
you'll know the distilleries, you'll know William Grant. It's an important part of the community up there, and it has been for centuries, multiple. So
yeah, it's beautiful up there.
it
I mean, Ducktown's the capital of Speyside, is what they say, and it's just where a lot of the focus of the distilleries are. The Balvenie and the Glenfiddich being two of the big ones there, but like you mentioned, the Hendricks is ours, and Milagro Tequila, and we've got Hudson and Fistful of Bourbon. But at the heart of it, we've always been a distilling company, and Scotch is where we started back in the 1800s, and still going strong. I mean, it's Glenfiddich especially in Balvenie, just insane.
well, and part of what attracts us to it, obviously, Glenfiddich is a huge brand, but having the family there and involved, and like it makes such a difference that people who have a personal. I mean, their name is Grant. Like, what can you say? They have a
Yeah,
person. They're invested in this in that way. And of course, there are a lot of Grants in Scotland, but these are the William
yeah,
Grants, and so it's incredible, and you can do things that like very few others can. Like, for instance, I don't just get a couple little sample packs when we're tasting together. This is a whole thing, and it makes it feel extra special, and the malts speak for themselves, honestly, and I can't wait to taste them. But there's a lot of history there, and maybe it would be nice if you could tell us a little bit about William Grant and where that where the
yeah,
distilling tradition comes from.
yeah. His William Grant's story himself is pretty amazing. He wasn't born into money. He worked his whole life, and kind of saved and scrimped and worked at a couple of distilleries like Mortlach for one. And really, hopefully I'm not getting this wrong, but it was all up until he was in his 50s when he actually built the distillery. So it was him, his 7 sons and 2 daughters actually hand-built the distillery with the help of some stonemasons and built it from scratch. They literally saved up, and the family was big into education. So one of the sons was a doctor, one was a teacher, but they were sending money back, all with this goal of, and the tagline has always been to build the best dram in the valley. And that was their whole goal. It was to open a distillery in Speyside, in Dufftown, and grow that distillery. And back in 1887, they finally got their dream. So it's kind of it's a nice metaphor for just not giving up. If that's your dream, it might take you to your 50s or 60s, but if that's the dream, that's what you want. It can become a legacy and live on. But then over in Balvenie, I always kind of say 500 yards. I've never actually mentioned it, but it's right next door. You walk from one distillery to the next. And they opened that distillery up in 1892. And it was kind of, we opened that distillery to protect the water source, because the water fed through Balvenie Farms, Balvenie Means. And it was protect that water source that was feeding Glenfiddich, because we know the water is very important, this kind of style of water, but also just having abundance of it. So they bought that area, and then it was really
it was like a
having
manor at the time, right? It's a beautiful, it was like a castle almost, right?
Yeah. Balvenie Castle is still there. It's a ruin now, but you can still go visit it and see what's there. And then Balvenie House, which, to be honest, if we showed that to a lot of Americans, they would probably think of it as a castle. But in Scotland, we've got castles everywhere. I always remember the Eddie Izzard story. He was like, there's a castle everywhere you look. It's amazing. So we actually knocked the Balvenie House down and turned that into our malt floor and our malt barns, which is still part of the distillery today. And Warehouse 24 is the old basement to the house where we keep a lot of our really old whiskies, where we keep the Tun 1509, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so all the way back in the 1800s, we were making whiskey. But it was really once we hit into the 60s is when we brought out Glenfiddich single malt as a single malt. Because before that, most of the whiskey, in fact, all the whiskey really was being sold as a blend. So it was all going into make blends. So we were suppliers to the blenders. And the Willliam Grant family decided, this whiskey is good enough to stand on its own. And we actually released the pure malt, which is a term you don't see anymore. But it was a beautiful whiskey. And you could argue it kind of kicked off the single malt kind of revolution. And now you go to K&L and you've not got enough walls for all the single malts you could actually stock.
That's
so
accurate.
It's amazing to go from that, starting off just in the early 60s, to where we are now. The growth is phenomenal. But yeah, family's still growing strong. Now we're into, I believe it's the 5th, 6th generation, depending on which way you look at it. And yeah, it's a great company to work for.
And Glenfiddich is one of those distilleries you sort of, you can't really appreciate the scale until you've been there. And they've recently expanded again, all while keeping an incredible eye to quality. I think one of the things I was surprised when I went there was to realize that they're still, open fire distilling, which is really unique in the industry. And then just next door at Balvenie, they're still using the malt floors. They're they're still using the peat kilns. They're still doing a lot of this stuff that most of the industry has left by the wayside in the name of efficiency, because they give a shit what it tastes like, and that's going to be a big issue there. Also, it looks really cool, so I can't argue that.
It looks really cool. We can say that right from the beginning. We never talk about it. Everybody makes their whiskey their own way, and they've got their style, and if they're getting the style that their consumers and their whiskey fans like, then that's it. But our philosophy is definitely, we have expanded, not so much at the Balvenie side, but in Glenfiddich, we have expanded. But it's the people we keep around to make sure that what is happening is staying true to what we want to do. And we've got people there who are 50, 60 years now, have been working at the distillery and keeping it going. And having David Stewart and Brian Kinsman and now Kelsey McKennedy coming through as our malt masters, they're controlling that. But then you go back to, we have a full-time cooperage there that looks after every barrel that comes through. That doesn't happen at most distilleries anymore. They just don't have the space, or it's an expensive way to make whiskey. And we have the malt floors at Balvenie, where we actually released one. We're not tasting it today because it was very limited, but the Balvenie 19, which I know you stock as well, was our first full estate whiskey, where we used barley grown on site. We malted it ourselves on site, and then we actually used barley from around the heather from around the distillery to actually add a little bit of heather smoke into the whiskey as well. So this is
so cool.
A very, very estate whiskey for me. It's beautiful too, but very limited because it's a one-time thing.
Well, I don't think I can wait much longer. Can we?
I'm with you. I've got mine here. So he actually had a little funny story. We're going to start with the Grand Cru, actually, David, if you don't mind.
I won't argue with that.
And
Grand Cru, which is this bottle, I should say, because I have it right here.
Yes.
Come on,
you're
guys,
saving the day. I actually called David, just for all the people watching, I called David about 45 minutes ago as I was setting up and getting ready, and I was like, oh, I had a tasting event and finished all my Grand Cru, because that's the one everybody wanted to drink. I have no bottle, and the bottle is so pretty. I have my own sample, but I just didn't have the bottle, but you've saved the day again. And it is true, it's becoming that whiskey that when people try it, it's becoming this. It's actually written on the top of the...
Oh, you're so clever. Yeah,
there should be a little GC on there for you.
Yeah. Very good.
And
so tell us about this whiskey.
So this is a 23-year-old single malt. So it's aged for 23 years, but then we're moving it into French Grand Cru casks. For all our wine and champagne, sparkling kind of drinkers out there, we're using the Grand Cru cask, which is a very rare way of making whiskey. The nice thing for me about this, though, this was designed specifically for celebrations. We weren't trying to get the most biggest, boldest 23-year-old single malt you could possibly make. We have those. We have those in our artillery and what we have. We're looking for what's happening. We're seeing in Scotch is it's now becoming that celebration. We celebrate at weddings, we celebrate with birthdays, we'll have a nice whiskey. Now we're like, we're out for dinner. We want something we can celebrate with, and we want something that's got a little bit of age and elegance to it as well. So for me, this is a very elegant whiskey. You get a lot of those kind of French bread, brioche kind of flavors notes coming through.
Absolutely.
And it's one that I've done a lot of fun things with this, where I've actually served it in coupes, champagne coupes, just to kind of get people's mind changing from, don't think of this as a big, strong, like the Balvenie ton or the 21 we're going to taste later. This isn't your Optimors or your Arbegs. This is all about elegance. It's all about celebration. It's for a lot of people can enjoy this. But then when you actually taste the whiskey, there's still a lot of depth and flavor in there.
It's no
You're getting all
Scotch,
that oakiness. It is 23 years old, so it's been aging for a long time. It's been bringing all that oak flavor in from the barrels. But then those Grand Cru casks just soften everything out and just take into that kind of bakery dessert note. So a lot of the kind of soft bread, butters, and vanilla and caramel notes coming through. But
there is a freshness and a linear quality that I think is really unique to this.
Yeah.
Obviously, the French oak. I wonder if the wine influence has anything there. Not to say that it's effervescent at all, which it's not, obviously, but it has this lift to it, which I think is really unique here.
So it's a unique thing, right? If I hadn't told you we're using these Grand Cru casks, and a lot of times when I do tastings, I don't bring it up. I'm like, give me your first thoughts. And people still go with this kind of light, effervescent, and I think this goes down to the skill of like Brian Kinsman. He's managed to actually nose and taste casks that it's making your palate feel these certain things. It's pretty amazing what you can do over there. Yeah, we're very lucky to have really very experienced malt masters, and we say now we've got a new malt master coming through, which is amazing.
Yeah, and these whiskeys, of course, they're not inexpensive, but considering where the market is for old malt, this is a pretty reasonable, you have the whole the fancy packaging and these incredibly rare and expensive barrels that you're using. At $300, this is a cool gift for and you can kind of give it to any single malt lover, and they're going to appreciate, okay, this is something a little bit different. It's not your typical big, soppy sherry bomb or finished whatever. So it's a fun whiskey. It's
lovely, and like you say,
the celebration aspect.
it's a celebration whiskey, and that's what it's for. We want people to enjoy it. And like if I do a dinner, this is what I use for a toast, and this is how we're starting the night at 23-year-old single malt.
An aperitif.
Starting at that level of this is where we're going to go for the night.
At the highest of the highest order.
And but yeah, just this is my fun whiskey to drink. And a lot of whiskeys will make you sit forward, or they'll make you sit back. This is a sit forward and engage whiskey. This is a whiskey you chat with.
Yeah, and also it's something you can serve to anybody. You know, anybody's going to be able to say, "Oh, I get it. I like it. It's obviously delicious and approachable." So, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And I will be honest, this is one that, and now when we do the tastings where there's multiple whiskeys, this is the one people come up, I'll have a little more of that, because it's a very complex whiskey. And like I say, I actually finished my whole bottle on the other day. But let's move on to something, go the other direction. Okay. Let's do the Balvenie 21 Portwood.
Oh, yeah, the classic.
So, kind of a classic at this point, but just... we call it the unfair whiskey, because when you try, you're like, well, where do I go from here? This is not real.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it in here in the second whiskey, because the next two we have a lot more spice notes to them. So the creaminess and the maltiness of this one sets really nicely in there. So on yours, it should have a little PW on your little...
Got it, yeah.
Yep. So this is... I mean, the biggest credit I can give to this whiskey is David Stewart, who makes our whiskey. He's been there 59 years now, and which is okay. Just a little bit of experience now, and this is his favorite. So if he's been making whiskey since all the way back in the 60s, and this is the one he thinks is his favorite to drink, then there's not really too much more you want to say. If you get the most experienced man in Scotch making telling you this is his favorite, but
the only problem with this whiskey is getting it right now. I mean, it's so hard to get, which is great. I mean, it's terrible, but it's, you know, that's the way it is these days. Things are tight. We buy as much as we can get when it comes in. But, you know, this is so many people's like first, like, oh, I get why single malt is the king of spirits. You know, that's, you know, when you're finally, you know, spending a little more coin on something and be like, oh, I get this finally. And I will ask for it every single day, and it's just so unique on the nose. And using port is not easy. Like there's a lot of, it's an easy way to ruin single malt is a port cask. For some reason, I don't know what that is, but there's a lot of off flavors sometimes in port whiskey.
Yeah, I think to give you an idea, David, so this is a 21-year-old. Aged for 21 years in American oak. We're then moving into these port casks or pipes, big, tall, 500-litre port casks. But these casks have held port for between 35 and 40 years before we get them.
Right.
And then we bring them over and we use them. And during that time, we all know about oxidation and different things that can happen. Things can happen in that wood. So having our coopers there on site to be able to check these casks really helps these things. So a lot of things can go wrong. And portwood, for some reason, gives up its flavour pretty quickly. So you've got to be very careful on your aging process, what you're doing with it. We feel anyway, especially with Balvenie. So we're only doing a short finish, about 4 months on this one. And it brings out so much fruity flavour, so much of that nice kind of port note coming through. It's just sweet jam, but then it's like creme brulee. It's like... it's, like we say, we call it the unfair whiskey because it just makes you kind of, well, that's where do I go from here? What can I do from this?
Yeah. Well, we'll find somewhere to go, I'm sure. But I think it's smart to do that short finish with these because those port flavors can be so obtrusive, you know, and with a malt, especially like Balvenie, that's so complex and delicious on its own. Like you don't want to completely hide that. So I think it's just really, very, really well appointed.
Yeah, really what we want to do is make Balvenie with a port finish. It's not a port Balvenie. So we want to keep that signature honey vanilla flavor that David Stewart loves throughout his whiskey and just add that little twist. Just that little bit of something that just takes it in a different direction. And I totally mastered, and this is just, like you say, it's everybody's favorite. And I can answer just about every question you want on Balvenie and Glenfiddich, apart from how do we get more. That's the only one I can't really solve.
Not your problem. It's fine.
There's a million. You've heard a million excuses with people coming through, and it's not just Scotch. I mean, it's across the board right now.
This is
between ports and glass problems and there's lots of things. The great thing about whiskey is, though, it's literally just getting older. So at some point it will come to us again.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. Yeah, and listen, we get it. We're not gonna hold your feet to the fire. And there's plenty of other stuff to sell. Look, we've been doing great with that ton. We've sold so much ton.
I know you guys might be your top account for
going for
Balvenie ton. I didn't dive into the numbers, but you guys are going through it. And again, we'll taste that at the end. That'll be the last one, just because of the higher proof on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the collectors love it, because once it's gone, it's gone. There is no, we sell everything at once, and that's it.
Not to like pick favorites, but this batch is particularly, it's particularly good. The 7 I thought was they pulled out some stuff there for the 7. So
it's an interesting thing. But before we jump to the ton, why don't we try a little Glenfiddich 21? This is a whiskey that I think I overlooked for a minute. We've kind of a lot of people look at it and it's, well, I know Glenfiddich, especially because people love the Balvenie 14-year-old Caribbean cask, which is a rum finish whiskey. But the Glenfiddich 21 is also a rum finish as well. So the Grand Reserva here. And this is the start point of what we call the Grand range for Balvenie, for Glenfiddich, sorry. So we have the 21-year-old Grand Reserva, we have the 23-year-old Grand Cru, and then we have a 26-year-old that will be coming up at the end of the summer, which you guys will obviously be getting if you, and I'll be around to kind of taste you on that bottle pretty soon, David. It's
oh yeah.
I am very excited for this one. I haven't tasted myself yet. The samples are just coming in.
It's Grand what?
It's going to be called the Grand Couronne.
Oh, cool.
And I really want to tell you all about it here, but I'm just thinking, is Global watching this going, do not say a word.
Don't ruin it, David.
But it's coming
now,
very
they'll be watching it later, so let's we'll leave it.
I don't want that. I never want that phone call from Scotland, like, that's not good.
It's probably on the TTV website, so
it's out there. I just don't want anyone to say it.
We don't need to highlight it. We'll get there. We have to have something to talk about next time, anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I've seen the packaging. I know the story behind it, and it's an exciting whiskey, and it really kind of wraps up that Grand range of where Glenfiddich's going. They have that core range that everybody knows. But now we've got that experience, we can release these luxury whiskies at a reasonable price. We're not talking, it's not $100 here. We're in the hundreds, but for 26-year-old single malt, 23, it is a fairly reasonable, luxury product. And as we talk about thoughtful luxury, what we're doing is trying to really do it the right way. But that's for another time. The 21-year-old.
If they're watching, let them know we want cask strength 15-year Solera. That's all I need. That's what we want.
You've tried it, right? At the distillery?
No, I haven't. That's not allowed at all. That's not.
If you didn't, you were on the wrong tour.
No, I did.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. And I know they don't want to do that, but because you need it for the 15, and it just doesn't make sense. But maybe one day, one of those little butts, a little Oloroso
maybe
butt
we should,
there.
we'll ask Brian for a little distiller's edition, maybe.
There you go. I'll travel if I have to.
Yeah, we'll do a little fun
Distillery
thing.
only?
Yeah. There is an interesting thing with the cask strength, because if you look at the world market, America and then maybe a little bit of Scandinavia is really who loves the cask strength.
Of course.
When you go to the rest of the world, they're not as big into it. I don't want to generalize, but if you look at the sales of different products, so it's a global decision a lot of the time, which is a hard one. But the next time I go back, I'll bring you another little sample back.
David, I'm that guy. I'm always going to be that guy. It's part of the shtick. Got to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know my customers are like, why don't you ask about the cask strength? Because that's what we do. That's our thing here.
Yeah.
It's honk the horn, ask for a treat. But this is delicious. I haven't had this in a little while.
Yeah.
I realized.
People look over it a lot, I feel, and then when you go back to it, you're like, whoa, this is really complex. It's got a lot of the kind of spice notes. I like the kind of orange ginger thing that comes through in this whiskey.
Yeah, I get kind of that tropical spice note that I think is so good. And there's subtle tropical fruit. It's not like one of these mango bombs or something like that.
No.
Get in some of the, older Balvenies. But there is a tropical, like a fresh, not not banana, but there's a fruitiness that's really nicely.
Yeah, and everybody picks up a little bit different. And Glenfiddich always has like a signature pear note that goes through it.
Yeah,
I think
see
the
that.
rum is maybe taking that pear and made a little bit of melon and maybe a little lime and ginger. So it's kind of giving it a little Caribbean twist to that, which is nice. One of the really cool things is we have the Caribbean cask Balvenie 14. We got this 21 rum finish as well. And it would be very easy for us just to get a whole bunch of Caribbean rum cask barrels, bring them over and just use them, whoever wants to use them. But actually Glenfiddich and Balvenie use completely different rum blends for the casks.
I was going to ask where you get
specific. Them. Yeah, say again?
I was going to ask exactly that as soon as you mentioned it. Where are they coming from?
You can ask.
Vaguely or stylistically, do we know anything about themselves?
Well, like I guess we can tell some stories. So we always just say Caribbean rum casks because it leaves it open to a lot of things. For people who are rum out there, there's probably big distilleries who don't want to share barrels, so that kind of eliminates some options. Back in the day, which is a known story now, you used to be able to get it in Europe. We used to have the Havana Reserve, where we use Cuban rums, but the US isn't real big into Cuba importing things, so we couldn't do that for the US. Yeah, so we couldn't do that for the US. So now we have Caribbean rums. But to be quite honest, where we get the casks will actually change. Where we get the rum blend from will change. Okay. Because what we're really trying to do is get the consistency of the rum, and rum is a great product. We do flog different things. But there could be a little bit of inconsistency, especially if you're shopping around and what's going on with the humidity and all those kind of things in the rum world. So actually having David and Brian be able to get the rum blend style that they want rather than being committed to one distillery is more important. So it's the quality of the rum and the quality of the wood that we're using is the biggest factor we're actually focusing on.
Commendable. I appreciate the very political and accurate answer.
I think I still have my job for that one.
If they ask you for this one, I got a couple more stories for them. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I get how it is. It's a complicated industry, but this stuff is great. I'm more information is better type of guy. But then again, some of these things only exist if you can keep those lines open, and if you're if one producer is pissed off, and then that can ruin an entire product line. So I understand.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You've seen this at your store a lot of having the information is great, but the amount of people who will come in and they won't try something because they've heard one thing, and you're like, yeah, but that's not the defining thing. Or that's not. You've eliminated a whole category because you learn one fact about one whiskey or one rum or one tequila. So it's sometimes more information in the internet and all this can cloud the problem rather than the situation
and I've tried to cultivate customers who love to drink and not the checklisters, the ones who are like, well, this or that. I want someone who is going to enjoy this for what it is, regardless of taste is subjective. Objectively, there's quality here. That's an objective truth. Someone may or may not like it based on whatever feeling they have. My taste changed based on my mood, based on how I'm feeling, based on the weather, and that's the way life is. But our customers are good drinkers, so I think we'll have a nice convo about it once they come in. But they're in now. They're back in, so it's great.
Yeah, that's true. They're in again, and like you say, my taste will change by 6 o'clock tonight.
Totally. I'll be ready for a beer by then.
2 o'clock. But I will say, this Glenfiddich 21, I've started falling in love with having with a cigar. Oh man, those little spice notes, the kind of freshness to it, it goes so well with a nice cigar. It's beautiful. Out in the patio late at night, it's becoming a bit of a go-to for that.
I feel like we have a plan to smoke cigars together. I don't do it very often, but for you, I'll do it.
Now now it's open. Now these places are starting to welcome us back, and we can go have a little fun again.
Hell yeah!
We have missed it. I really do. It's we had a bit of a company. Finally got some of the company together recently, and it was amazing. We've seen these people on Zoom calls every day, essentially, and the energy was so different. It was just wonderful to see everybody again, and you realize you missed them. You missed that face to face. So
So the thing I appreciate most about smoking cigars, even though I'm not a big cigar smoker, is the fact that, and I only do it socially because for me it's about, like a lot of my drinking, it's about the people I'm with. Um, Smoking a cigar, having a glass of whiskey, you got two things in your hand. You can't pick up your phone. You got to sit there for at least half hour, maybe more, and engage with the person sitting
Yeah.
across from you. There are so few things that force us into that and are pleasurable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's unique. So I'd love to do that with you one day.
We can do that. I try to come up with a few different games for people when we have like dinners and things. I'm like, all right, when the food and the drinks come, everybody take the photograph. Just do it. Everybody get the photograph done. You can Instagram later. And then we used to do the little game of the phones in a pile.
Mm-hmm.
And if you answer it, your phone goes to the top, and whoever's at the top pays the bill at the end of the night. That, people do not go for their phone. That's
Nobody
a good way.
touches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't want to go to the top. We're drinking whiskey. This is getting expensive out here. So
that's funny.
yeah, so that's a good way to keep it going.
Are you a gentleman and put your phone on top for? No.
I always usually start. The top of the pile is a good way to go, especially if you have invited guests. It's like, all right, I'm paying
kind of obligated
until you mess up, and then you're on the hook. So, no, it's fun, but it's nice, and it is a little annoying when you see people on the phone all the time, and we do events. But I will say that maybe this has cut it down. People are a little tired of Zoom calls and different things, and this is wonderful because we can still do it. It's a bit of education, and honestly, it's just a chat about whiskey. It's fun, but the amount of work stuff, looking at spreadsheets on Zooms, people are hopefully that'll cut down the phone time and a little bit more face-to-face talking.
Absolutely, and you know what's interesting is like this format. You know, it's beneficial with or without the store open. You know, it's like I never had a way to convey this sort of information. Yeah, we could have a dinner and hit 15 people or 20 people and talk about these whiskeys. But here we've already had, 40 or 50 people come through, and we're going to have 5 or 6 or 800 more watch it over the next couple of weeks. It's totally unique. So, yeah, I mean, oh, there's Elo.
What up?
What's up, bro? So we're having fun.
Yeah.
Elo's working hard.
So listen, the more I get back to this whiskey here, it's becoming like, you ever get that, like the kind of spiced chocolate, the ginger chocolate you can buy, the kind of artisanal chocolate you're starting to get?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just sitting soft and it's oxidizing, it's bringing out a little bit more flavor? Yeah, it's lovely. I love that 21. It's been my rediscovery whiskey when I'm looking at all those, because it's one of the ones I'd probably skip by. I love the 15. The Solera was my go-to for a long time when I used to own restaurants. That was my, try this. You're missing a lot. But anyway, let's go to, since you mentioned Cask Strength, let's drink a little Cask Strength.
Big boy.
Yes, this is the Ton 1509 Batch 7. So Batch 7 is the easiest thing to explain. It's literally the 7th time we've released a Ton 1509. And for your kind of watchers and people who are going to watch later on, a ton in Scotland is, and I know you know this, but this is for your people watching, David. A ton in Scotland is a big marrying vessel. So essentially it's just a big wooden vessel where when we're making a whiskey, we bring multiple 12-year-olds together to create Balvenie 12-year-old double wood. And I never call it's not a blending, it's a marrying thing. Because as soon as you say you're blending the barrels together, everybody gets real confused. So it's a marrying ton where you literally just bring these 12-year-old barrels together. They get to know each other. David makes sure it's exactly what he wants for 12 double wood, and then we can bottle it. With the Ton 1509, all these tons, all these wooden marrying vessels, they're all over the distillery, and they're all aging whiskey for 3-4 months before they're ready, sometimes 6 months. But they all have to be numbered so we know what's in them. We got to track what's going on. Ton 1509 is the ton that's in warehouse 24. Warehouse 24 is our oldest warehouse where we keep all our oldest whiskies. So Ton 1509 is literally the address of where it's made. It's made in Ton 1509. But what that means is we're taking the oldest barrels in our oldest warehouse and we're bringing those together in this whiskey. I kind of call this David Stewart's thank you whiskey because he's bringing together a lot of our older whiskey, which you know can get very expensive very quickly once you look at those higher ranges. And he's bringing that whiskey together letting it marry. I've got a really crass joke that I say, we only marry for 3-4 months, because after 4 months, all marriages go downhill anyway. So we only do it for 4 months. And then I've been married 14 years, so it doesn't really work now. But so he brings together 4 months, and then we literally bottle it at cask strength. So this is one of the ones that we bottle in. This one's coming in at 52.4, I believe. Oh, 50.4, sorry. And it's this is Balvenie at its oldest and core and like purest form.
Can you show us the bottle?
Yep. And I actually have the canister here. I can go get that, which is really interesting too. Give me 1 second. I'll go get the canister for you.
Yeah, all the information is on that, which I love about that. You know, you can see exactly what's gone in terms of the types of wood.
Yeah. So we've got all the different casts and things here. So beautiful. Yeah. So 52.4. Sorry. I think batch 6 was 50.4. So this one's a little couple degrees more, probably ABV more. But you can tell right away on the nose, you're like, there's a lot of sherry cask in this.
We're on batch 7.
Batch 7, yeah, on the batch 7 one.
Which is the only available currently, and it's
every now and again, if you're in a store, you might find a batch 6 from a few years back. Maybe they've got it somewhere hidden that came out. Maybe a restaurant or two, just because a lot of them were closed last year, so they're bringing out old inventory they had, which can be a nice little find. But you won't find many before batch 6, because these sell out. And like I said, we bottle everything at once, and it goes out to the world. And when it's done, it's done. So it's.
I had a bottle of the batch 3, 14. The ton 1401, what was it?
01, yeah.
Yeah, the 1401 batch 3 at a beer bar near the store.
Right.
And it was in the top left corner. Nobody knew what it was. They were asking like $25 a shot, which at the time I found it, you know, the bottle was already $1,500 to $2,500. Now it's probably even more.
Yeah.
The batch 3 was particularly good, and I like slowly killed that bottle over the years, and that was it. So you never know what you might find out there. So keep your eyes on it.
It's good to look, and especially some of the whiskey places changed hands and became something else. Those are gold mines. We we're an Italian restaurant, and we've got this thing up here. I'm like, I guess I'll have one. You know, I'll have a little dram with you again. But we used to make 1401, like you mentioned, and that was a 2,000 litre ton. This is an 8,000 litre ton. But the 2,000 litre ton, batch 3 came to the US. Batch 2 went. I think batch 2 went to travel retail. So they went in different areas. Now the 1509, all the batch goes out to the whole world. So everybody gets the same. And if you're in the UK, you can't go buy a different ton. It's the same as you get here in the US. Although you get 50 mils more over here, which is nice. They're only 700 mils.
That's true. I do have to say though, the consistency on these have been quite good. And to be honest, there's some really freaking old whiskeys in this thing. And you know, you look at what a 35 is going to cost you, and you know, even I mean, if you can get it now, it's like the 25 is what are we? Is that back
25
on?
is gone now. We're not making the 25 single barrel anymore. But I may have some Balvenie surprises for you later this year too. We got a couple of new things coming. So.
Oh yeah. Wow, this is so good, David. Thank you for sharing.
This is a different level whiskey again. I think the consistency and the quality that Glenfiddich and Balvenie put out makes my job the easiest job, because you're literally then talking about, all right, so why is it so good? Why is it going that direction? And being 500 yards apart, made by the same family, they're completely different whiskies.
Yeah,
they're a different style. It's a different approach. Glenfiddich's got a lot of bold flavors, a lot of sweet flavors. Balvenie's more of a rounded all-over flavor, where it's meant to be all-encompassing. And it's just, what style do you like? And maybe you love the 15, but you don't like the 18 in Glenfiddich. The 21, but you're not a Caribbean cask fan. Everybody's got their own taste, and that's the great thing about whiskey and great thing about going to a store like yours, where people can guide you around the store and what do you like? Let's go on a journey, kind of thing.
One of my favorite whiskeys, just the last little drops are left, are the sample, the cask strength sample I got out of the Balvenie. You know, they fill you up a little 200 ml straight from the barrel of the 15-year Oloroso. Man, that shit is off
What year was yours? I think we're doing a 13-year-old right now, or they were before they shut down.
It was 14 or 15 when I
14, yeah.
when I grabbed it.
They change it obviously when they go through it, but that dipping the dog experience when you're in Warehouse 24 is one, you're surrounded by all these old casks. It's a beautiful old building. It used to be the part of the Balvenie house, and you're just imagining people were doing this in the 1800s right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not much different from what you're doing when you're collecting your samples. So, it's a great experience. I can't wait to get people back to the distillery. That's one thing I miss is doing some guided tours. And well, I don't actually do the tours, but I take people over and follow around and listen to the amazing people we've got there. We've got full-time people looking after the distillery who can show you around. It's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. We always, it's funny because I've been to Balvenie many times, several times, like 3-4 times. We typically only go to distilleries where, we can buy stuff because we need barrels to justify our trip and da-da-da-da. But anytime someone's like, let's go to Balvenie, we're like, yes, let's do it. The stop is so good. And it's one of the best if anybody's ever out there. Like Glenfiddich, of course, is phenomenal too. But that extra experience, go for the VIP there at Balvenie and get the big boy tasting and
it is nice with Balvenie. You get to see the floor malting, so you're basically getting a little trip through the past as well. Even though it's operating, you can imagine what it was like before, and you meet the gentlemen who are doing it. They're like, oh, how's it going? Glenfiddich is great too, where they have the kind of VIP where you can actually blend your own whiskey together. So it's a little more of the Balvenie is a craft experience. You get to see how that luxury whiskey is crafted, and Glenfiddich is more about showcasing how that luxury is developed and how it comes to life, and a little bit more of a modern distillery, even though it's all the way back to the 1800s, but how they've developed. And you got to go to the cafe. The food there is phenomenal.
Really?
Go in there and get a little.
I think I had an espresso when I first got there.
You missed it. Always get the soup of the day. The soup of the day is always going to be amazing. Scottish people know one thing. We know how to make soup. It's one of our
true.
Soup and whiskey. That's our go-tos. It's cold. We got to stay warm all the time.
I'm all for a liquid lunch. So
yeah.
Awesome, David. This has been so fun. There's still some people here. Anybody have any questions for David before we let him go? Sometimes there's some interesting ones.
I see. I honestly wasn't even. I was too busy chatting away. I wasn't even scrolling along. But
it's all good. We had little.
I see somebody says the
commentary.
Warehouse 24, which is it is a special place. That's right where we keep all the old whiskey in the trunk. Yeah.
All right. Looks like the people are satiated. I certainly am. I've got a lot more tons.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm off for the weekend after this, so.
Great. Great. Go have fun. Where are you going? Just hanging out?
I have got my in-laws are in town, and we're going to go up to Yosemite for the weekend. We got the pass, and we're going to go up and enjoy a little tour around.
And it should be. Is it still limited? I think it's still limited capacity as well, right? Or
it is. I am not sure, to be honest. We had to apply for a pass, an entrance pass, and we got that. So I'm not sure if that's normal state or if it's limited, but either way, we're going to have a good time. And
it's so beautiful up there. I'm sure you'll drink well as well. All right, brother. Well, it's great seeing you. Let's do that cigar not too long, all right?
Whenever you're ready, my friend. Cheers, David.
Cheers. Be well.
Cheers. Bye.
Ciao.